Good day and welcome back. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to title this one. Maybe all the best plans of mice and men may go astray. That's actually a line from a book that at one time was required reading in school. And, well, there's a lot of truth to it because you can make all the plans you want. Don't expect you're going to stick to them. And yesterday, well, this is what I want to talk about today is what we did yesterday, or didn't do, depending how you look at it. Yesterday, I had planned, I use that term loosely, I had planned to ride this guy around the arena here a little bit. Even though we haven't ridden him very much, his riding has come along very, very good. He's actually doing quite well. But when we went to get on him yesterday, we had a reoccurrence of a problem. And we also decided that while we were dealing with that one, we'd prevent another problem, and then we'd work on a few other little problems that had popped up recently, because this goes back to things I've said in a couple other videos. I did one video specifically on the single biggest mistake that we make is getting in too big of a hurry to get on the horse. And that can really end badly. In his case, yesterday, and well, this also ties in with, I always say, be flexible, because I don't care what you got for plans. Sometimes those plans have got to change. Maybe it's just a matter of doing things a slightly different way, or maybe it's a matter of doing something completely different. It could be either one. In his case, it was doing something quite different than what we had originally planned. We never did ride him, even though that was originally our plan. Today, we might. I'm not convinced yet, because one of those problems that we had yesterday resurfaced again today. A little bit, not quite as bad, but it's still there, so maybe we won't ride him today either. But one of the things that happened was, and this has only happened once before with him, it's not an unusual thing with horses. When you go to put the saddle on, they walk away. And as I say, I don't tie for things. I expect him to be in control of himself. He doesn't need to be tied. That's a physical restraint. I want him to mentally restrain himself. So I want him to stand still when I go to saddle. And, well, every time I went to pick up the saddle, he decided to turn and walk away. Now, this has only happened once before with him. It has happened numerous times with other horses. And we basically dealt with it the same way. So basically, we were fixing a problem. And for those of you that don't know what we do in that regard, it's pretty simple. We don't continue to try and put the saddle on. The minute we go to pick it up, if he starts to move, I got one eye on him the whole time. If he starts to move, I put the saddle back down, and you can quickly pick up either your lunge whip or your flag, whatever's handy. And if he wants to move, he gets to move, and he gets to move lots, and he will canter several laps of the arena in both directions, and we'll try it again. And if he decides to move again, we just keep doing that. And eventually he decides, you know what, standing still is a whole lot easier. Now, there may be something else in there that's happening as well. Like I said, we haven't ridden him much. We've been on him a number of times, but we haven't really ridden him. We've simply, a couple laps of the round pen, a couple laps of the arena, and that's about it. So it hasn't really been ridden much. So at his stage of training, that's a pretty stressful thing. So he may be thinking that when he sees that saddle and I want to put it on him, he's going to get ridden. And, well, he doesn't want that stress, so he's going to attempt to avoid it by not getting the saddle on. But we're also preventing a problem by not riding him once we do get the saddle on him, because we did have it on a couple times. Actually, we put it on, we took it off, put it on again, because we were still working on the same thing. And by not riding him, he also learns that every time I put that saddle on, it doesn't mean he's going to get put to work, put into a stressful situation, and develop what is known as tack aversion. Whereas every time I see a saddle or bridle coming, it's like, heck no, I'm gone. And that happens. It happens a lot. I've seen it. I've had to fix it. And it's not terribly hard to fix, but it's also just as easy to create that problem. And it's a little bit harder to fix, actually. So tack aversion is, so basically we're avoiding that problem by not riding them. By putting the saddle on several times but not actually riding them, we're preventing that problem, because then he doesn't automatically connect the saddle to being ridden and put to work and put in a stressful situation. At this point, it's pretty stressful for him. So, we dealt with that. We also fixed the already existing problem of him wanting to walk away while we were trying to put the saddle on. And then he had a few other little problems too that we decided to work on while we were at it, because they'd come up recently that they were actually, for the most part, reoccurrences of problems that already had been fixed once before. Well, they really never were a problem, but there were things that we taught them that all of a sudden became a problem. We had to fix them again. And we basically just did it the same way we did it the first time. And in the long run, what we ended up accomplishing, well, we're not quite done yet. And we haven't tried some of the other things yet today, so we don't know where that's going to lead us. But what we end up with in the end, by taking our time and backing up a little and doing a bunch of stuff that was basically groundwork, we end up with a horse that's going to be easier to catch, easier to saddle. His response to the reins is going to be much better and all this stuff. So overall, he's going to be a much more pleasant horse to be with, to catch, to tack up, and to ride. And these are all things that we can fix. And yeah, we end up spending a little bit of time fixing this stuff in the first place, but we also end up with, we don't have to deal with this stuff for many years, which can end up causing a rather unpleasant and frustrating experience with the horse, which we don't want. We want to enjoy this guy. He's a real nice little guy, this particular horse. I think most horses have the potential to be this nice if you treat them right. And rather than creating something that's going to be a problem and not addressing things that would make things a little easier, we're going to take our time now and fix all that stuff. We're going to fix problems. We're going to prevent problems. Sure, we're not riding them right now. But in the end, when we do start riding them, or somebody else does, they're going to have many years of pleasure with this horse, because the average horse can live, well, their rideable life can be 20, 30 years or more even. I've heard of horses living as much as in excess of 50 years. That's pretty uncommon, but it's not uncommon for them to be rideable well into their 20s. So you could have quite a few years of frustration on your hands if you don't deal with these things now. So I just thought I'd do this video after everything we went through yesterday. I thought I'd talk about the things we went through yesterday and how instead of riding them, we stopped and addressed a number of problems, and we hopefully are preventing one as well, so that in the end, down the road, he's going to be a much, much nicer horse and a much more enjoyable horse to be around, to saddle up, to ride, everything. We're going to prevent problems. We're going to make our life a lot easier. It is a lot less stressful, because rather than putting them immediately into a stressful situation of being ridden, well, we're going to take our time and say, hey, you know what? We aren't always going to stress you out. Sometimes we're just going to play around with you a little bit, do some simple stuff. That's not a big deal. It's all stuff he knows. So it doesn't take him too long to catch on to what we want again. It's not going to overly stress him, because we're not subjecting him to anything he doesn't already know. So that's what we're doing. We're canceling our plans, making new ones, preventing problems. We're fixing problems, and all before we ride them. Even though we've already started riding them, and the temptation is really there to want to continue riding them because it's coming along really well. experience says, no, that's not the right thing to do. We're going to stop, back up, take care of some things before we ride them. And then when we do get back on, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable for me and far less stressful for him. So like I said in that other video, well, the biggest mistake we can make is getting in too big a hurry to ride. And there's lots of things that are behind that we can do to prevent problems and fix problems so that in years to come, we're going to have a much more enjoyable time with our horse. Have a good day.